Okay, so the first thing to talk about is just the state of FBA, and for that is just kind of where are we at the moment. So as people know, the Amazon with no notice told everyone that suddenly you can't ship stuff in. There's been a few changes in the last few days. I think on Saturday or Friday, the last message came through saying that they are now allowing a few more items to be shipped through to FBA. So they've added a couple of extra things within Seller Central now. So within Amazon Seller Central, if you're getting a restock inventory notice, then that means that should be something which Amazon will allow you to send in. So they've suppressed restock notices for items which can't be sent in at the moment, and only remind you to restock items which you can restock through FBA. The second thing is there's a new report within Seller Central, which you can use to have a look at all of your eligible SKUs and see which ones you're allowed to send into FBA at the moment. So there's a couple of new tools Amazon has created to allow you to manage your FBA a little bit better. The original notice when it came out said that the restrictions would be in place until the 5th of April, or they'd be reviewed on the 5th of April. So that's coming up soon, and my personal view is that they're not going to lift the restrictions completely on the 5th of April. I think they're going to continue to do this ASIN by ASIN relaxation of the restrictions. As some of you know, I sell a lot of SKUs, several hundred, and what I've seen from those is it seems to be the ones which are highest velocities, the ones which the marketplace is telling Amazon that they want to buy, seem to be the ones which are being made available to restock. The other thing I've seen is some which are slightly lower volume, but have got nobody selling them, so everyone on Amazon is sold out of them. Those seem to be becoming re-eligible to restock. So obviously we don't have any insight into Amazon's exact algorithm, but it seems that they're trying to make sure that things stay on sale, and that if prices are going up or if supply is drying up completely, then those ASINs are becoming eligible to send in again. So if you have a small number of your own SKUs that you've made yourself, then it's possible that those will be able to send into FBA as you sell out and start running low on stock. So keep an eye on that as things go, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't set up an FBM alternative to manage the risk and manage the situation as best you can, but it does mean that it may not be a complete washout for FBA for everybody's products until the end of lockdown. The other thing I was going to say was...
hey, can I jump in there, Christian, to add to
Sure.
what you've just said? So even though you may be able to send inventory in, you do still need to be watching for what the delivery date that they're offering
Sure.
to the customer is, because like in America, for one of my ASINs, it's 24th of April. Which is like too far away. There's almost no point sending inventory in through there. I do FBM. Yeah. So that is, but in the beauty category where I am also, which is considered essential, we're experiencing actually a pretty good service, and I can't complain.
Yeah. Yeah, we sell many toys and games, and there's been a big surge in demand. And the items we have on stock are shipping reasonably. Most of them are shipping reasonable times in Europe or in the UK. The couple of things I was going to mention was Amazon has waived some of its FBA fees for the current month. So long-term storage fees have been waived for this month, and there are some other fees that they're waiving this month. And yeah, just to talk on that shipping time, the other thing we've seen is that stock we have, which is in Italy and I think it's France. So for our pan-EU stock, when we have units in France and Italy, Amazon has now said in every other country those units are not available, that listing's out of stock. So if our last stock of that product is in Italy or France, Amazon is not shipping out of Italy and France at the moment. They're only shipping domestically for stock which is held in those two countries. So if you're pan-EU and you think you've got 150 units left, but actually 100 of them are in France, you only really have 50 units left. So look at your multi-country inventory report, and it will tell you where all your stock is, in which fulfillment centers, in which countries, and then you can get a better picture of your stock, because once you're down to just units left in France and Italy, that stock is not going to ship to Germany, Spain, Netherlands and UK. Okay, next up we have, if I can get this to work. Oh, wrong one. Okay, so next question, and this came up as a question on the Facebook group. Should we change our listings to FBM, our existing FBA listings to FBM, or should we add a second listing as FBM? And my personal opinion is that you shouldn't touch your existing FBA listing. Your existing FBA listing is there, and especially if it has stock, you can leave that FBA listing as it is, and you can set up another FBM listing in parallel with the FBA one. There are many reasons to do this. See if I can go through them. First one is that you can manage your stock. So if you have FBA stock, you can use pricing to manage which one of the listings shows up and is available to customers on Amazon. So if you create a separate FBM listing and then price it cheaper, Amazon will show that offer to customers provided the shipping time is comparable to FBA. And then if you price it slightly more expensive or the same as your FBA listing, Amazon will basically deliver the FBA listing until it sells out, and then it instantly and immediately switch over to FBM as soon as your FBA stock is depleted. If you have stock in FBA and you switch your listing to FBM, the FBA stock goes into a kind of a lost inventory status, and then will be stuck there until you change the listing back. So it's best, in my opinion, to create a separate FBM listing. And on the ScaleForEtail Facebook page and Facebook group, there's a video explaining how to create those separate FBM listings. And I'll post a link to that in the chat here and also by email after the webinar. But if you have any questions about how to set up that separate FBM listing, then please look that up and have a look at that. And that should guide you through step by step. It's a screen capture of me running through the process in my Seller Central account. Okay, and then the next thing to talk about is just settings and how to set things up. The first thing is set up the FBM listing, as is detailed in the video. And once you've done that, there are a couple of other sections in your Seller Central account you need to look at. The first is in the top right of your Seller Central account, there's a settings section, your settings, then shipping settings. And there's a way there, and there's an option there to set up a new shipping template. And you can use that to set up and define your shipping fees, your shipping time, your handling time, and so on. As you do that, to then tell Amazon what to display to customers in terms of the cost they're going to add to your price and the time they're going to add to the estimate for delivery. And you can set that up to them to match what your capability is, so that customers can then know what to expect and what to when they should expect to receive their package. The other thing to talk about is when you use FBM, if you're not using an integration like Bezos, which automates a lot of the process, you do need to make sure that when you receive orders, you process them and then mark them as dispatched within Amazon in the right timescale. If you have orders and you're shipping them, but you're not marking them as dispatched in Amazon, Amazon thinks they haven't been sent in time and can then start to count that against your account as negative marks. And you can then start having account issues if you have a lot of FBM orders that are not being marked as shipped. Of course, there are a few other pros and cons. When you receive FBM orders and you're shipping your own orders, or your warehouse shipping orders, you have more control over the shipping experience. And Diego alluded to this in his presentation as well. But you can choose your own packaging, your own box. You can put your own inserts and your own extra materials into the packaging. So as well as just make sure it's packaged properly, you have a bit more of branding opportunity and customization opportunity there. So you know, see that as an opportunity and make the most of it if you can. And then the one thing to be aware of on the negative side is that when you are shipping FBM to customers, normally as an FBA seller, your customer feedback is pretty bulletproof. Almost any negative seller feedback you get, you can ask Amazon to remove because it's fulfilled by Amazon. But when you're fulfilling yourself, you need to be more wary about negative customer feedback because those ones can't be removed as easily because you're doing the shipping yourself. So yeah, just be aware of that when you're doing your shipping. Okay, Tim, do you have anything you would like to add around the kind of seller side of the FBM experience?
Yes and no. I was had a couple of things to do with. Oh, I'm all big. There we go. You can see me bright and cheery. Just to,
always cheery.
just to give sort of some idea of from a a merchant who's basically, I've been selling through our own Shopify platform for years. We've been fulfilling products ourselves through third-party fulfillers for about the last 7-8 years. And we've recently switched over to doing the fulfillment ourselves in-house. There's a few things that people would probably want to be aware of when it comes to when you start doing the fulfillment stuff yourself, or if you're using a third-party fulfillment company or a service like 𝗱𝑇𝐻𝑝's. And it sounds like 𝗱𝑇𝐻𝑝's got the right idea, very much so, with the things that are important from a fulfillment perspective. Certainly when it comes to support, certainly one of the biggest challenges we can have when we start being responsible for the fulfillment ourselves, whether it's through a third party or doing it ourselves, is the support for missing shipments. So one of the biggest challenges we have, or we've had in the past, is customer contacts us and says, my stuff hasn't arrived, or a card hasn't been left to pick up the parcel from the local post office, all that kind of thing. And you end up going through a process of, well, I've got to contact our fulfillment people to then get a tracking reference, to then get a XYZ, and it then feeds back all the way again. So the time it takes to manage that support starts going up. So you just have to be a little bit more aware of that if you start doing some of the fulfillment yourself, or you're getting somebody else to do the fulfillment, is that the timeline of providing good quality support to the end customer when something goes missing is really, really essential. And I think, to say, some of the systems that Diego is putting in place, certainly with 𝗱𝐻𝑝's, is hitting some of those challenges head on. Some of the benefits, as has already been mentioned, packaging control is huge. Having control over the way that the package is presented. One of the things that we've done for ourselves is we've got our own custom packaging for our brand. So everything's branded up. It's got our website address on it, and it's, we all the box that it goes in. So it's not an Amazon box anymore. It's our box. We can put, better quality of information, leaflets, things like that help consumption of our products. We sell nutritional supplements, so we've got a better way of onboarding new customers by being able to put proper inserts into the thing, rather than just a tub of the product being put into an Amazon box. So you've got a huge amount of capability there, and it's certainly something to look to doing maybe long term, beyond the situation that we're in at the moment, where we're having to start looking at FBM. We've kind of almost been forced to look at FBM a little bit more as sellers. So I think that it's something to look at long term. It might be beneficial for people to do much more with FBM beyond the current COVID issues. The only other thing I would stress is integration between the different systems that you use. If you're using Amazon, and if you're on Amazon and you're doing FBM, then the integration with various different fulfillment companies varies, and you have to be quite cognizant of that. And again, I think that's where Diego's systems are going to be an absolute win for a lot of sellers, is that there is a tight integration between platforms. It's the one thing to be sort of a little bit aware of. Certainly, if you're looking to do the fulfillment yourself, certainly if you're in the UK and you're selling within the UK, I'd strongly recommend getting set up with Royal Mail's click and drop systems. There is a superb PDF created by the Royal Mail of how to link your Amazon platform, or your Amazon Seller Central account, to the click and drop system, which is a two-way thing. So when orders come in from Amazon, which are FBM orders, it goes automatically into click and drop, so it can produce a label for you that you just stick onto a box and away you go, kind of thing. And then it will feed back the tracking reference directly into Amazon once you've said that you've shipped that particular product. So which is a really nice integration. There are some limitations with that in terms of whether you do standard FBM or whether you do the Seller Fulfill Prime. I believe with the Seller Fulfill Prime, you have to do, it's a minimum of Royal Mail signed for as the service you have to use, or the equivalent of signed for service to use Seller Fulfill Prime. That's one of the other limitations that you have. But other than that, there's lots of benefits with going to doing your own fulfillment or using a third-party fulfiller. It's just good to be aware of what you're getting into when you start going down the route of fulfilling stuff yourself or through a third party, because there are a few little pitfalls and a few things that you just need to be a bit careful of.
That's fantastic, Tim. Okay, let's go through some of the questions we've had. Okay, I think we've answered the one we had through Facebook, which is Will Moody's question. Okay, question, does SFP get the same buy box priority as FBA? The answer here is that it changes. The buy box, so when you're competing for a buy box with multiple different sellers, the buy box traditionally has been based on delivery time and price, and where those things are equal, Amazon Prime or FBA has an extra bonus points that then wins the buy box. What we're seeing at the moment is that because for some items Amazon FBA is quoting a longer delivery time than usual, if your FBM delivery time is shorter, then for the same price, sometimes even for a slightly higher price, you can still win the buy box with FBM. So it does make some changes to the buy box algorithm. So basically, as ever, Amazon want the customers to get things quickly and cheaply. So if you can, by using FBM, deliver faster than FBA is quoting for your products at the moment, then it may be worth creating the FBM listings for those, because it will give you a buy box benefit. You need to, of course, check your cost of doing FBM compared to FBA and make sure that you've priced correctly to account for that. But if your costs are comparable and you can deliver faster with FBM, then it takes a few seconds to set up an FBM listing and see if it gives you a benefit. So you may as well do that, especially in competitive ASINs. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay, we've got a question from Michael Williamson. Some items being sidelined in the warehouse. I guess that's a question to the community. I mean, people can ask that in the chat unless anyone here has seen that, but he's saying that he's had some items marked as unfulfillable because the warehouses they're in have got coronavirus, so the warehouses are kind of locked down. And wondering if anyone else has seen anything similar. That's probably something, I mean, unless one of you three has seen experience of that, I think it's probably something to discuss in the Facebook group. So if Michael, if you want to repost that in the Facebook group, people can comment on that.
Is that for Amazon in particular? Because because we talk to a lot of warehouses, some of those warehouses have been compromised in general, and they have to shut down. So we see disruptions also, not only on Amazon warehouses, but in general fulfillment centers. And that's why having a network of independent warehouses comes in handy, because when you get your product compromised, you can move from one warehouse to another one.
Makes sense.
Diego, just to add one thing from my end. Not only have some warehouses been compromised due to COVID-19, I think some warehouses are only being used. So I've observed that with one of my products, I'm only able to use certain warehouses and not others. So they are almost, they've shifted how they're designating warehouses. And of course, when you go FBM, whether it's in America or indeed in the UK with Diego's service, you need to make sure that you are using warehouses that have been designated as essential by either the UK government or the US government in particular, because those warehouses are staying open and the other warehouses are closing.
I think one of the things I would add to that is one of the things I've been quite relieved at over the last 2-3 weeks, certainly since this whole thing's blown up. I was almost pleased that we've taken over the fulfillment for our products ourselves, and we're doing it in-house. We have a local facility, a local set of offices where we ship stuff from. if we had been in a situation 6 months ago, the same situation 6 months ago, where we were still using a third-party fulfillment, where it was they only have one warehouse. If that warehouse gets shut down, then we're in a mess. You know, we basically we no longer have a business at all. So, and I think Diego's got it absolutely right with having a spread of warehouses. It makes sense to do it that way, so you're not relying on one. One of the great quotes from from Dan Kennedy is, you know, worst number in business is one. And you know, we have stock in our facility, we have it in Amazon as well, and we have a third backup as well. And it just means that we do have options. If you know, and that's one of the things that we need to be more cognizant of right now, is having options for how you can continue to run your business. It's not something that people talk about too much, certainly not small businesses, but the whole idea of business continuity, having come from a corporate background many years ago, business continuity and for big companies is huge, and they will have had a certain degree of planning for a pandemic or for a warehouse fire, or, you know, computer systems shutting down or whatever it might be. But most small businesses don't have that. And I think this whole situation has brought to light the sort of fragility of what a lot of small sellers have got at the moment. So the one thing I would certainly recommend is you look at every aspect of your business, be it the data that you hold, where your stock is, you know, comes from, i.e. your suppliers, where it is in the warehouse as well, and what are all the possibilities. Who would have thought 6 weeks ago, who would have said that Amazon would have stopped allowing us to ship product into Amazon? It's one of those questions that you go, well, that would never happen. Unfortunately, it has, and we're in this situation. So better to start asking these questions, because as we're seeing, the situation is not at the moment getting better. We're kind of having to live with the situation we are now. It's probably going to get a little tighter and a little bit harder going forward. So start asking more of those questions. How can you reduce your risk? And I think that's a huge small sellers to look at.
Right. Okay. Let's look. Diego, do you have any knowledge about what sellers need to do to qualify for Amazon shipping when they're using Seller Fulfill Prime?
Amazon shipping is restricted. The information I got is that it's restricted to a lot of the areas. So Amazon shipping, it is available for Seller Fulfill Prime, but only for limited areas. I don't have the information right now with me, but I know some of our warehouse locations can't use Amazon shipping for SFP at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, on my side, I applied for it ages ago and was told I was eligible, but the number of SKUs I wanted to put through Seller Fulfill Prime was too small, so the volume would be too small, and you have to have certain minimum order level through Seller Fulfill Prime to then enable Amazon shipping to pick up from you. So, so the answer to Kamlesh is I'm not sure what the current criteria are, but you know, if you apply and don't get through, then you know, it's a case of just either asking seller support for help or to keep reapplying and see what you can get. It may also be a case of working with your warehouse to see if they can help you to get accepted through. Okay, Shelley?
Yeah, should we deal with Michael's question about Diego? Do you ship products to other locations in Europe? This is, I guess, customer orders that he's asking about. So can you do that? If we
so just to clarify, what we are restricted to the UK is the location of the fulfillment centers at the moment, but from these locations we can ship to anywhere in the world using different carriers. So the answer is yes.
And are you able to ship direct from our supplier, i.e. can you
receive from suppliers
the freight? Can you get us the freight sorted out as well? I think that's the question. Oops.
Are you on mute there a second, Diego?
Sorry, it was me. It was my
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So it's not a service that we provide as part of our core, but we have partnership with other freight forwarders that we can introduce them to. So our responsibility starts when the containers or the pallets they arrive to the warehouse. Having said that, we have a list of preferred suppliers that we use. In this case, freight forwarders that we can introduce them to.
that true in the UK as well? So say my stock is sitting with another warehouse right now and I want to move it to you. Can you help me create that move more easily if it's in the UK already?
If it's in the UK, absolutely, yes. That's something that we do.
So one of the questions I see in the questions box from Katie, has anyone got any worries or insight that Royal Mail will temporarily stop at any point in the UK, just out of interest? We've been actually in regular communication with our account manager at Royal Mail. And as far as they're aware, there is no change to the service that they provide. So we're still getting a regular daily pickup of orders coming through. So somebody comes and picks up our deliveries each day. And I'm sure it'll be the same for Diego's, the warehouses that Diego's using. They're all using an equivalent pickup system. The thing that's being delayed is the actual end delivery. So like that last mile to the end, to the consumer's doorstep. We're certainly seeing in some parts of the country, there is a definite slowdown. And we've heard certain stories from people in London who are getting only shipments, so they're only getting post about once a week at the moment. So things have slowed down dramatically in that respect. One of the things that, but that's not universal. That's not across the whole UK. Certainly in Scotland, for example, where we're based, we're shipping stuff out every day, and it will get to our customer in Edinburgh or in Aberdeen or into the northeast of England within one day. It's getting to them the next day without any problem. The one thing I would like, my last point, is have a backup. So we already have a second backup of UPS. So if Royal Mail suddenly goes, we're stopping, which is, again, I say highly unlikely, but it's one of those things that you have to kind of like always question about, okay, what other options do we have? So we've looked at UPS, we've looked at DPD, we have an account already set up with UPS, ready to do daily pickups if absolutely necessary, so that they can take over if there is any particular problem with Royal Mail. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done on our own website is we've SetToCustom, we put a message on about shipping saying that we are dispatching as usual, but we cannot at the moment guarantee it will be delivered because the delivery date, because there's this extra delay in the system. And customers find that we get a few extra phone calls than we used to do just to kind of clarify exactly what's happening. But I think it's the best we can do. We are shipping from warehouses. We are getting into the system, and then they'll have tracking details, so they can then keep an eye on where it is and see when the delivery can be made. But if it's Royal Mail, if it's Royal Mail, customers will know how often they're getting post at the moment. So if it's an affected area that's only getting post once a week, then they should have that expectation that the deliveries are a bit slower. Okay, other questions in here. We've got Sylvia was asking about how do you know that FBA shipping times to customers are longer? There's no way of knowing that in advance, Sylvia. It's just looking at your pages, putting in some, if you're in America, putting some sample zip codes to see different areas. Or if you're in the UK, just make sure you've got a UK postcode and just seeing what it says. So it's not a way. There's not a way to check that in advance. It's just seeing what the situation is in reality for your products. But if you do see products that are affected by long lead times, then consider FBM for those products, because if you can deliver a better, quicker delivery time through FBM, then it may help you both in terms of buy box as well as in terms of ranking for your product compared to other products. Maya saying that Amazon's saying to send stuff into Italy. I cannot give you any answer about why Amazon's telling you to send stuff into Italy. I guess that's the Amazon algorithm not quite keeping up with the reality on the ground. Okay.
There's also a question here, I think, to Diego about whether you can't do pan-EU fulfillment for us right now because you don't have warehouses in the other countries set up. But is there anyone you could recommend for people on the call?
Yes, I can send a list. If you send me an email, I can forward you a list of the people that I think are good in each country. Yes. So
well,
it's
why don't you send it to me and then I can communicate that to, we can make sure that gets out to everybody.
I can send a follow-up email. So if you send through, I can then.
I'll do that.
Okay. In our Amazon allowing sellers to create new listings, yes, we are still creating new listings, so I haven't seen a problem with that. I think there are some categories they are restricting. So you know, I've heard people say they can't create new listings for kind of hand sanitizers and face masks and things, but in general, for those non-critical items, I've seen no problem with making new listings. Especially if anything you already sell, there's no problem creating an FBM version of that. No, I've not seen any problems with creating FBM versions of listings. Okay, the same question from Emma.
There are some questions that I picked up from the chat as well. So another one into Diego, it's more a clarification. So we could just send inventory into you for you to store it for us, could we? Would we be able to?
Yeah, the answer is yes. We just don't target just storage. We want to provide the full end-to-end service, but given the initial circumstances that we're living, we can help from a storage point of view. We have some partners that they specialize in long-term storage. Yes.
And you can also do the prep into FBA. We send our stuff that comes in from China, it sits in your warehouse, and then you send it into FBA for us, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, a couple of the questions. Julie, because of uncertainty about delivery times, do we need to tell Amazon delivery lead time is longer? Yes, I would always try and be conservative on delivery times. You can put in a range of times. So I need to try and remember exactly what you can do on Amazon, but on our own website, we used to say 3 to 5 days for the standard delivery, and now we say 3 to 7 days or 3 to 8 days. And with the extra explanation, that helps to explain to customers. So yeah, be conservative. Customers will never be unhappy about receiving things sooner than expected. So always under promise and over deliver. And so yeah, if you can, say longer. But the key thing with Amazon is you need to mark your items dispatched within the handling time window. If you're not marking your products as dispatched quick enough, then you can get into trouble with Amazon. So if you say your handling time is 24 hours, you've got to make sure it's done 24 hours every time. A slight twist there is that it's just a side note, is we've done pre-orders before with Amazon, but with that, what we did is we had to mark the orders dispatched within the 2 days. But we had to message every customer, so we could, as a feature of Amazon system, we have to mark your orders as dispatched. But as mentioned on the product page, this is a pre-order and will not actually ship until 6 weeks' time when the product's actually released. But you can do that using FBM. So that's just it's kind of working around the edges of the FBM system. As long as you get the order, you're clear with the customer, you mark it as dispatched, but then are clear in your messaging to the customer that it's not actually physically been sent yet. You can then keep those orders and ship them all in once when the stock actually arrives.
Yeah, although do be careful, I got suspended for not putting tracking in. This was a few years ago now, and it was okay at the end, but I had to send a very long, a couple of begging forgiveness emails to Amazon to get things sorted out. So it's probably better to stick to what you said is your handling time and make sure that you do things properly. That's
you mentioned yesterday, Shelley. I think what we did for the pre-orders, and it's 2 years ago we did now, was we put in it just ETA and then the date. So ETA 5th of December or something. So every order that came in had the same tracking number effectively. We just said ETA 5th of December. So that way there's something in the field, although it wasn't a real tracking link. So yeah, so if you just put something in the box, and then Amazon will be happy. I
There's
think
a question, I think, from Kev, which is probably worth asking Tim to answer. It's about what limitations on inserts do we have when we're doing FBM?
none.
Thanks for that, Shelley. That's a very broad question. Obviously,
If you're nervous about that, Tim, I can answer that. The answer is none. You can put whatever you like in the box. There is no restriction on what you put in the box.
Thank you, Christian.
Only thing you're not allowed to say is you're not allowed to be negative about Amazon. You can't tell people don't go to Amazon, don't buy stuff from Amazon. But you can put offers, and you can say that, email us and get money off your next product, whatever you like. But just don't be obviously ridiculous. And you can't, no matter what method you use, you can't filter people, find the happy ones, and then get those happy ones to leave reviews on Amazon, because that's clearly against terms of service. Whether using ManyChat or inserts or emails or any process, that is a black mark against you if Amazon ever finds out. So be sensible, but you can be flexible in using FBM. And so if that helps clear the ground a bit, Tim, and you want to give some detail, then do.
No. I think that's probably as reasonable an answer as I was going to give. One of the benefits, and I suppose it's not, you get this benefit regardless anyway, whether you do FBA or FBM. The customer's shipping address is actually quite a useful piece of data to have. I believe now that Amazon's restricting how far back you can download previous customers' data. So if you want to go back, say 10 years, you can't pull back, you can't download the data from 10 years ago. But certainly one of the things that we do on a regular basis is we pull the customer's address data down just in case, and we just store it in a secure place, being cognizant of GDPR and all that kind of stuff, and making sure that we're not breaking any regulations. But it does mean that if Amazon does completely shut us down to a certain degree, we have the ability of sending them a postal message, a postcard or something like that. We don't do anything with it at the moment. So, but yeah, it's one of those really kind of like grey areas with GDPR that they've been able to get a straight answer from a legal person on the whole GDPR thing. So it's still a mystery to everybody. Yeah, as long as you're not, don't be an idiot about the whole thing, and you'll be just fine. Yeah. Okay.
Sylvia saying that Amazon cancelled some FBA orders but not seen the inventory back. Again, that's just Amazon. It may be that the items were never taken out of stock. Well, I don't know. Maybe the items weren't actually taken out of stock in the first place because Amazon didn't have the stock, which is why they cancelled them. Or maybe they just will come back into stock after a while. It's also possible that if you're pan-EU, they may be stuck in a different country. So yeah, you just have to wait and see what happens with those. Was using FBM before? Grace, yes, I was using FBM, but we just use FBM for a couple of products. So we've got a few very big products which we don't keep in FBA. FBA tends to break them, damage them, not pack them properly, so we just ship those separately. But most of the things we sell are FBA, and then we've always had a couple of things FBM, then we've got a few more running through FBM at the moment. Question about extended spending accounts. That's a question for the group, I think, and people can answer in the ScaleForEtail Facebook group. I think that's everything. Have I missed any?
No, I think you've cracked most
let's
of
see if there's anything left in the chat. I think we've got most of them done.
Just to say, while Shelley's having a look at that, is for those new to the group, we are ScaleForEtail, and posted in the chat already is the link to our Facebook group. And in general, we're a community of sellers. All Shelley and myself are two of the co-founders of ScaleForEtail, and Tim is a regular attendee as well as an ongoing expert with us. So if you have any questions about anything Amazon related or e-commerce related, and possibly digital marketing as well, then ask them in the ScaleForEtail Facebook group, and someone in the community will try and help and get the conversation going. And that's usually the quickest way to solve things. I mean, we saw that in particular, when was it, about six days ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, that the Amazon restrictions came in on FBA. People weren't able to get answers from Amazon about why suddenly they couldn't create shipments, and all these questions came up about shipments, and then the community could quickly answer that and find a horse's mouth answer from Amazon America, actually was, because they posted the answer in America before in the UK, despite the time zones, explaining that they'd locked down warehouses in the US, UK, and Europe. And so the group is a great way to get your questions answered by other people in the same situation and other people who are facing the same issues as you. So yeah, if you're not already in the Facebook group, please do join it. And I think that every Amazon seller, and I hope most e-commerce sellers, will find that group a useful resource for themselves.
And totally free. So if there are any more questions, Diego, you're in the group as well.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to ask them generally. And also Diego will be monitoring our group activity over the next few days. So he will really gladly jump in there and help people out.
If you have a question, particularly for Diego, if you just tag his name in the question, that should then help him to see that it's there for him as well.
Okay, and then the final thing that we wanted to talk about very quickly is the fact that we're going to try and do this weekly, as I said at the beginning. And actually, our next webinar is going to be led by Tim. He's going to be our expert speaker, and he's going to talk about all the wonderful stuff that he does in his business to do with email marketing. I don't know how many of you are really into email marketing, but I'll let Tim just say a few words to tee this up.
Yeah, let's say, just to give you a little bit of a very short background, because I've been doing this for quite a few years now. I run a nutritional supplement company called Lean Greens, based predominantly out of the UK. We sell very little outside of the UK, but one of the primary mechanisms that we use to encourage people to consume our product better and to get them to come back for more of our product, as well as engaging with new customers and prospects, is through email marketing. Is that your dog, Shelley?
I apologize. he's a but he does sound like the most ferocious piece of carpet.
So we use email marketing a lot. And to give you an idea, at the moment, we are using email. We're sending emails every single day to our customers, or every single weekday, I should say, to our customers and to our prospects, which at a time like now is actually quite a powerful thing, because people are looking for stability. They're looking for a community. They're looking for, something to hold on to, a normality, if you like. And that's what the email marketing approach. And I say email marketing, it's more just, it's an email newsletter, if that's a better way of describing it. Now, I appreciate a lot of people, a lot of sellers, certainly on the Amazon space, have probably shied well away from building an email list or building a list of prospects or customers. But for us right now, it's one of our most powerful tools for getting new customers, as well as re-engaging with old customers. Certainly I would recommend to everybody to start looking at building your list if you haven't started one. So what I'm going to be talking about a little bit next week is basically email marketing 101, how to start building your list, how to write emails, because a lot of people kind of struggle and suffer with that whole kind of blank page thing where they can't write, can't figure out what to write. To give you an idea, we've been writing about, our primary product is a greens powder, so it's a greens drink. I kind of joke that I've been talking about greens powders without actually talking about greens powders for the last 8 years. Yeah, hopefully some of the things that we'll talk about next week will set your mind at rest about running out of things to say, running out of things to email about, and how not to necessarily rely on offers and discounts and the latest, kind of promotion as being the basis of every email, which is kind of not the way that we do it. So I've got a bit of a presentation on that. So hopefully that'll be of interest to people to come along. And if you've got any particular email marketing questions that you want me to answer during the presentation, I'm still kind of tinkering with the presentation a little bit, stick it into the ScaleForEtail Facebook group. There is I think Christian's already put up a invite for the webinar itself. If you put the questions below that invite, that will help me find your email marketing questions, everything you ever want to know about email marketing.
I'll post that after this one, and then collect the questions there.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, that would be awesome. And obviously there'll be the system here for asking questions during the presentation itself. Yeah, if you think of anything beforehand and you want me to cover it during the presentation, say I've been doing this for 8 years for my current business, and previously for my previous personal training business, I was doing it for 8 years before that. So I've been doing email marketing a wee while, so I kind of might be able to answer your questions on that.
Awesome. Okay, well, hopefully you've all enjoyed this webinar and the tech. This is the first time we're using this piece of tech. We think it's pretty cool at this end, but hopefully it's been good for you. Going forward, actually, if any of you would like to show your face and speak rather than use a chat box or a questions box, you're very welcome to do that. So if anyone's feeling brave next time, we'll go a bit further and really open it up and allow people to participate more fully, which I think will be much more fun. So, hey, thank you all for participating. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place. And thank you so much.
It's not the same time, Shelley. I think it's 2 p.m. next time.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Please
it's Thursday next week, but 2 p.m., not 11 a.m.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Thank you, everyone.
Ciao. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Diego.
Thank you, Diego. Appreciate your time.
Take care. Bye.